Hello.
Hello,
It's okay.
Professor. How are you?
I'm okay. How you doing?
Nobody here. I waiting. I was online. It's like you are not here. 3 o'clock.
Yeah, 3:30.
Oh, that's why I come fastly.
Oh, it's okay. Well, yeah, I'm sure other people will be here, but yeah, for now it's just you and me.
Okay, I have a question for regarding for like I see one like student. How we contact peoples if I need contact some peoples.
That's a good question. I mean, I think some teachers ask for phone numbers and stuff. I think that's my idea. My plan was for the student Zoom room so that you could go, there's that Zoom room that's open for you guys so that you could just go into the room and talk to each other there. But maybe when everybody's here, we can ask if people need.
Okay,
You can also.
because I see one lady. She speaks same language for me. It's
Okay.
more easy for me when she explain me. That's why I asking you.
You can also click here. Let me switch to student view, Suki.
Can you show me later?
Sure. And this is recording, so I can share it as well, so you can watch it anytime. But it's just that word. See this where it says people on the homepage or on your phone. If you click people, then you can see a list of all the students in the class.
Yeah.
You can contact them or send them a message there.
How? I don't. I click, but I don't find any inbox. Like how I sent the message, I could not find. I was try a lot time.
Maybe you need to go to. She hasn't added links. Let me try one thing. Maybe you need to go to inbox instead. Oh, I see. Hold on. Yeah, let me look into it, Suki, and then see if there's a good way for you to email another student. Yeah, I'll look at it. I'll look at it and give you more. I'll tell you. Yeah, let me look at it and we can talk about it later.
It's okay. You can talk to me later.
Sounds good. Good. We got a few people coming in. Hey, Konstantin. Hey, Banas.
Hi, Professor. How are you?
How are you?
Good, thank you.
How you doing? I saw you're going fast, Banas. You're the only. I thought some students haven't done anything. It looks like you did most of the lessons. How were they?
Yeah, it was good. It was easier.
Good. Okay, that's good. Okay.
In the beginning was very difficult when I thought it's all about paragraph, how we know speech part. But now, after you explain it everything, it's easy for us.
I'm telling you, I know the first 1 or 2 weeks, it's scary. People being like, wait, this is different, this is new, but I think it really starts to make sense. So I'm glad to hear that one.
And like before, when they put ABC choice for the sentence, make us more confused. Because everything is similar. We didn't know which one is correct.
Yeah.
She is Amina.
Who? I think Amina, I don't know if Amina's here on iPhone. She was here earlier.
Yes, that is me.
Hey.
Hi, Amina. I am looking you because you speak Hindi. I speak Hindi too. That's why.
Already? कैसे हो आप?
वो अब बढ़िया मुझे आपका नंबर जैसे चाहिए मैं कभी कोई हेल्प हो जाती है ना जो मुझे
Why not? I will give you.
Okay. I got it for her.
I could tell, yeah. I don't speak Hindi, but I get that sounded good. It sounded positive, yeah.
Yeah, it's more easy.
Good.
When she explained.
Well, you're very lucky. Amina is a very, very good student. So you chose well. Good choice.
Thanks, Professor. But you know, I'm poor at grammar.
Ay. Don't tell Suki that, okay? She needs your help.
I will help her. Okay. Of course, I will do that. We will together figure out what we should do.
Teamwork. There's a.
But it's interesting. How should she know I can speak Hindi?
I told you. I check one like a discussion letters. You explain over there. You speak 3 languages. I listen like your lessons, and that's why I find you.
Oh,
you speak two I think three language, and I say, oh, she speak Hindi. I speak Hindi too.
Yeah, I
My
get
first
speaking.
language is Punjabi. You speak Punjabi or not?
Unfortunately, Punjabi is so hard.
Oh, my first language is Punjabi, and my second language is Hindi.
We can talk Hindi. We will figure out
Yeah,
about the
I
grammar.
speak Hindi. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Awesome. That's great. Hi, Julia. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Professor. How are you?
I'm okay. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Hi.
Hello. It's small today, you guys. We'll see who comes. But my first class this morning was also small. I don't know if people are tired or stressed or the smoke, or maybe it's a little blue. So the sky is a little blue. People want to go outside today. I don't know.
Maybe because all of classes are online, it's boring.
No comment.
And like my son has classes too online, and I help him. He is kindergarten. He don't know anything. I all the time help him.
How's it going, Suki?
It's good, but they said like they starting back to school soon.
Oh, in person?
Yes.
Oh, good. I hope so. I hope so. I hope so.
I got an email. It shows like we have an spring also online.
Correct.
Yes, I checked too today.
Already?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think, and if you ask me, I think, I don't want to make predictions, but I think next fall as well would be my guess. At least summer as well.
Professor, please do not predict. Whenever you say something, it will become true.
That's true. Don't speak it.
You remember the last time that you told us the fall classes will be online?
I don't want to think about it, but I do think, I don't know. Yeah. I think, but even today, like you hear people like the director of the Centers for Disease Control saying, okay, even if there's a vaccine soon, people probably won't start to get the vaccine until next fall. And I just think schools are going to be the last place. Like your young children's school, I think that'll happen, businesses and stuff. But like a college where there's 5,000 people, I just think we're going to be like the last place that comes back.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. But yeah, next spring, 100% all online for sure.
Some people's like it's like kids. It's like for me, it's like online classes. It's what anytime we cannot do homework.
You like it better, is what you're saying? You like it?
Yeah, because I have 2 kids. I don't have time for incoming college. That's why I think it's more easy for me.
Yeah, I think, like I said, there's good and bad in everything in life, right? Pros and cons, and yeah, I think pros and cons. I'm a little bit like Amina, though. I like to be in the room, but I think you're right, Suki. It's very good that people who might be too busy or might not have time to be able to come. I think it's great. Feruza says, I loved online class. Good to see you, Feruza.
You don't have to go to anywhere. You can just stay at home. Yeah. You don't have to wear nice outfit. You don't have to make makeup. You don't have to spend a lot of time.
Fair. Yeah. I think honestly for a class like this, online is great. I think the class like Amina, I had 325 with Amina. You know, a higher kind of literature class, it's something, I do think something kind of special happens when you have like 20 people in a room together talking about a book or talking about writing. But you know, it's all good. Like I said, pros and cons for everything. All right, we'll wait maybe 1 or 2 more minutes, but we've got a few people here. That's good. Good to see you. Valentina, hello. Trina, good to see you.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Before I start with the lesson for today, does anybody have questions about our Canvas site, the computer stuff, or anything like business questions before we start the lesson?
Excuse me, last time you talked about session number 6. I think it was something wrong. You you fix it, but I see my grade is same.
Lesson
I think it was
6. Was it one of the questions?
It was like
but it didn't show up. Let me see something. I've never seen that message in Canvas
we
before.
choose noun, verb, something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this. It was you put like.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there, but I think you're right. I think there was. I think that the change didn't happen in Canvas.
Yeah, right. It was language power lesson 6. Yeah, it was like a couple was wrong, but you don't fix it.
What was going on here? Thank you, Banas. I might have to just give you guys the points, or I don't know what was going on here. I think this is just my computer stuff. Thank you, Banas. Hold on.
Okay, no problem.
I'm gonna write this down. 310 quiz or lesson 6, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Banas. I'll look at it and fix it. Thank you. Thank you. Anything else? Any other Canvas questions or business questions or anything before we get started? Cool. If not, then I will get started, but I did want to show you just a couple things in Canvas. I didn't make too many big changes, but there are some things. So on Wednesdays, just like I did today, I will send out the announcement, the email with the link to our meeting. And on the home page here where it says Wednesday Zoom meeting link, you can just click that link too. So you can click from the announcement that I send. You can click this link. This is also the Zoom meeting ID for this meeting right now. So just more ways for you to join this meeting if you know, for Wednesdays, okay? Any questions about this? Pretty simple. Cool. This is still the same, right? Live support materials. All of the PowerPoints, all of the YouTube videos, the recordings from the lessons, they're there on live support. I did add one thing though called Professor Jeff's course materials. And on this page, I'm just gonna post the videos that I make for the Language Power tutorials. Here's Language Power tutorial 1. And actually this is part 1, part 2, I need to fix that. I have a video that I made for Language Power tutorial 3 that I'm going to post in Canvas later today or tomorrow. So anything that I record that's from our book, I will put here on this page on Professor Jeff's videos too. So that I know that those videos right now, you can find them inside of the different lessons that are in Canvas, but I'll put those videos here on Professor Jeff's course materials as well, okay? That's the only Canvas business that I have. Any questions again about Canvas before we talk about subject, verbs, phrases, clauses, and sentences? All right, let's go. Okay. And then at the end of class, before we finish today, I will make sure that I show you the lessons, all the lessons that I published and posted, so that you know what to do before we meet next week. Sita, do you have a question? Did I see your hand? Or are you okay? No, okay. All right, so here's what we're doing today. So we're going to do a really short, tiny little review from Language Power. That's LPT, by the way, means Language Power Tutorial. So LPT2 subjects, just a quick review. Then we'll finish LPT2 to focus on verbs, some of the different principles of verbs. If we have time, I'll introduce LPT3, phrases, clauses, and sentences. But if we don't have a lot of time to talk about tutorial 3, that's why I made the video, right? And I'll post that video tonight so that when you do some of those lessons, which are connected to tutorial 3, you'll have me, right? You'll have the video talking to you about what you read in the book. So here we go. Just a super short reminder about what we talked about 1 week ago. So remember, Language Power Tutorial 2 is all about the characteristics of subjects and verbs. And again, just a little vocabulary. A characteristic is a special quality that makes something different. So in general, a noun in a sentence answers the question, what is this sentence about? And let me fix this. The subject, noun, phrase, forgive me. And in general, the verb in a sentence answers the question, all my mistakes, you guys. What does the sentence say about the subject? So last week I showed you my sister Amy went to the beach. What's it about? Amy, she's the subject. What does the sentence say about the subject? Where she went, the verb, to the beach. Just a quick review again for subject, noun, phrases. These are 1, 2, 3, what I've got, 6 or 7 sentences here. I want us to just talk about and identify the subject, noun, phrases in these sentences. So the first sentence, those are my favorite cookies. What's the subject?
Those.
Okay. We'll see. I'll show you the answers on the next slide. How about number 2? A good quality of life and lower stress levels are 2 reasons people move to Sacramento.
A good quality of life and lower stress levels.
You guys, Feruza's talking fast. She's getting in there. Good. How about this one? Therefore, comma, in my opinion, comma, when you think about it, comma, there are many reasons to visit San Francisco.
There are many
reasons.
Actually, there.
Ooh, okay. And look at this closely. How many subjects, how many clauses, how many subjects are in this sentence?
You think, I mean, subject.
Mariana's saying, okay, you is a subject and there is a subject. Feruza, you agree? Or just, okay, Feruza's nodding, yes. Okay, then how about this one? I'll show you the answers on the next slide. For a variety of complex and interesting reasons, comma, people are living longer.
People.
Ooh, Linda got in there first. People, okay. And behind the house is a small tree.
The house.
Behind the house.
No, a small tree. A small tree.
I can hear tree.
The house. The house.
Good. We're going to review this. Someone says house, someone says tree. Those are our only nouns in the sentence. So good guesses, you guys, right? A subject has to be a noun, so that's good. And how about give me the money?
The money.
Money.
Ooh, I'm glad we're reviewing because it looks like we forgot.
We don't have the subject. You.
Mariana, tell me. Yeah, what? Say it again.
Oh, it's like common sense.
You is the subject that we don't have it here.
Love it. Good.
It's like implied, yeah?
Or... Oh, yes, perfect. And how about, perfect, and I want to get you the answers here. The flowers were planted by my neighbor.
The flowers.
Grammatical subject. Grammatical subject. Thank you.
The flowers. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so number 1, right? This is again just to show you that a pronoun like those can absolutely be a subject noun phrase, just one word. So those are my favorite books. So again, what type of noun doesn't matter. If it's a noun, it can be a subject, okay? Then we have, remember, another characteristic of subjects is it doesn't have to be just one word. You could have a whole collection of words to make a noun phrase subject. So a good quality of life and lower stress levels are 2 reasons, blah, 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 blah. Good. And the next one, therefore, remember we said, we teach you guys in the earlier classes, subjects are the beginning of the sentence, But remember, we can, and especially when you're at 310, 320 level, we get lots of beautiful introductory elements. So therefore, comma, in my opinion, comma, when you, subject, think, verb about it, there are many reasons to visit San Francisco. So absolutely, here we've got a complex sentence. If you did anything for tutorial 3, you're going to get a lot more practice with compound, complex, blah, blah, blah. We got a complex sentence, right? Here we've got a subordinator. This is the dependent clause right here. It needs the independent clause. So we have 2 clauses, 2 subjects, 2 subject noun phrases. For a variety of complex and interesting reasons, people are living longer. Behind the house is a small tree. Does anyone remember what was the rule we were practicing here? Now, again, subjects are at the beginning of a sentence unless...
Yeah, I have a question about why a small tree is a subject.
Yeah, why?
Because the tree is behind the house.
Good.
The tree is, not is, but the tree is.
Good. And Mariana, you're kind of coming in now, but I can hear you. I think what Mariana is saying there, how I would put it is, the sentence is about the tree, right? The verb is about where the tree is. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
remember, this is also connected. Like Banaz, when Banaz got here, she was saying, Jeff, this is kind of starting to maybe make sense. I think I get it. So remember, we start with parts of speech for a reason. The house is a noun, right? It's an article, it's got an article, it's a noun, it comes before the verb, but we know it's not the subject because that noun phrase is doing something else, right? What function is the house doing in this subject, in this sentence?
Showing the place.
Kyle, you're getting there. What part of speech is behind, Feruza?
Preposition.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And after a preposition, we always need a noun phrase, right? Yeah, and that noun phrase is the object of the preposition. So in this case, the house, it's a noun phrase, but it cannot be the subject because it has to be the object of this preposition behind. In the example that we talked about last week, the example that's in Language Power Tutorial 2 is above the door was a sign. Right? So, and we could do this behind, next to, I mean, so I don't want to tell you that this is super, super common, but beginning a sentence with a preposition like this and then putting the subject after the verb, it's not uncommon. Do you know what I mean? It's not crazy. You will definitely see it or hear it. So again, does that make sense, you guys? We have a preposition. We have an object noun phrase that is the object of the preposition. So this has to be the subject, right? And to go back to Mariana's comment about what's the sentence about, it's definitely about the tree, where the tree is, right? Where the tree is. Good. The next one, give me the money. This is, I remember last week and I was like, don't say me, don't say money, don't just pick a noun. Remember, the implication here is you, right? Who's the one who is giving? You. And remember, you are the subject. You are giving the money, the direct object, to me, the indirect object. These are really only for command sentences, right? When you're telling someone what to do. And the flowers were planted by my neighbor. Again, a lot of you are already on this. This had to do with active versus passive sentences. So even if it's a passive sentence, and this is not the sort of logical or the subject, the meaning of the subject, this is still the grammatical subject, right? The grammatical subject is still the noun phrase at the beginning of the sentence because there's no preposition here, right? It has to be the subject noun phrase. It's the only noun phrase before the verb, right? So good. Any questions at all about subjects? Because otherwise I'm moving on. So now's your time if you want to have specific questions about subjects. Love it. You ready for verbs? Let's do it. Okay. The good news is that if you've already read Language Power Tutorial 2, or if you even reviewed it after we did at our class last week, the verbs don't sort of change and move around as much as the subject noun phrases can, which is great. The only thing you already know that makes verbs tricky is, you know, tense and a few other things. So let's talk about the principles of verbs. So Professor Ferris talks about the characteristics of noun phrases and subject noun phrases. And then the principles of verbs. So principles, again, vocabulary is a rule that helps you know what's right and wrong. So there's 3 principles if you're looking at Language Power Tutorial 2 that I'm going to emphasize and we'll practice today. So in general, verbs describe the action in a sentence or the state of being. State of being is just kind of college English way to say what something is like, right? And again, this is like linking verbs. He is tall. It is hot. I mean, so state of being just means what's it like? It is hot. What's he like? He is tall, right? How do you feel? I feel happy, whatever, right? So that's what we mean by state of being, stative verbs, linking verbs, all kind of the same meaning here. Now, as I say below here, verbs can either be action verbs or linking verbs. And this is important to know which type of verb you see in a sentence because it will help you understand the other parts of speech that come before and after the verb. Like I said, I know for all of you, this is really easy, but if you imagine, think about when you were taking grammar like 30 or 40, right? A much lower level. Okay, we teach you an adjective comes before the noun. So if you saw he is tall, you'd go, oh, I don't know what tall is because there's no noun after tall, so it can't be an adjective. Well, you know, if you understand, if you know, is in this case is a linking verb, and that sometimes adjectives come after linking verbs, then it will help you understand the rest of the sentence. So that's again why we are practicing action verb, linking verb. So the first principle, oops, great. The first principle, so this is some basic information, but it's good to see and think about this in a different and a new way, which I think this book will do. So first, verbs have a base form that is unmarked. When you look in your textbook and it says unmarked, that just means it is not marked for singular or plural. It is not marked for tense. It is not marked with an ing or a past participle or anything like that, right? So a base form of the verb just is the verb unconjugated, and importantly, because when we look at principle 3, without the infinitive form, not to go, to see, to rebuild, to nourish, no. Go, see, rebuild. That's the base form. No conjugation, no change, no infinitive, okay? Now, the base form of a verb can be marked for 3 things, sort of 3 reasons to give us more information in a sentence. And those are number, so again, singular or plural, tense, and we only have 3 in English, past, present, future, and status. And as you can see in the example down below, status means, is it still happening now? Was it continuous? Is it done? So that's what we mean by status. And then the other thing to know about this, in addition to how verbs are marked sort of regularly, they're also, as you know, lots of irregular verb forms. So think about an example like, I have this sentence from earlier where I said, for a variety of complex and interesting reasons, people are living longer. So that's, imagine that for a variety of complex and blah, 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 blah. But let's imagine you just have people living longer. So here I have people were living longer. In this case, if you think about how verbs get marked, right? You have number, tense, and status. In this, people were living, we have marked, the verb's marked for plural, right? Because were tells us more than one person as a subject, right? Were also tells us that it's in the past tense, right? And then we have ing here on the main verb, and this shows us that it's continuous, right? Now again, remember, were is not the main verb, were is the auxiliary, but as we will see on the next slide, auxiliaries are important for person, singular or plural, and they can also give us information about the tense, right? So people were living longer. Here we see a verb that is marked for plural, past, and continuous. Now look at this one. People are living longer, plural, people. Present, are, the auxiliary here is marked for tense, and ing is marked with continuous, right? The verb live is marked with ing to show us that it was continuous at one point. So if we have she is living longer, tell me, using this same idea, singular or plural, past, present, future, continuous or not continuous, what is this verb marked for? She is living longer. Singular or plural?
Singular.
Thank you. Thank you. And past, present, future, what do we got?
Present.
Present. Continue.
Continue.
Love it. How about this one?
Singular. Romance, it's plural.
Plural.
Actually.
Yes.
Plural.
Past.
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 Yep.
Simple.
Yeah, we could say whatever, not continuous.
Non-continuous.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we could, yeah, we, again, depending on the class you're taking, the book you're reading, we could say this non-continuous, whatever. We could fixed. You could hear different words to describe this, but for us, this class, the only thing that really is important for status is ing or not ing, right? And this comes up a little bit with the past participle, right? I have worked, right? That is marked for ed as the past participle, but we don't need to worry about that too much for this lesson. So does this make sense? Verbs get marked for number, singular or plural, tense, past, present, or future, and ing or not ing, continuous or not continuous. Make sense? Questions? Okay, good.
One question.
Sure, please.
When we have a phrase like I don't want to, blah, blah, and we have to identify the verb, we take only the want or the verb phrase like don't want?
Great question. So for this tutorial, thank you, Mariana. For this tutorial, we're mostly focusing only on the verbs. In tutorial 3, we're going to talk about verb phrases for sure. So when I ask you today, what's the verb? I just want.
The one.
Oh, what's the verb in this? I don't want to go. What's the verb?
Want.
Thank you. Good. Now, what's the verb phrase?
Don't.
I want.
Yeah. So we get to talk about that in tutorial 3. We get to talk about, okay, well, if you have an auxiliary that comes before the verb, is that part of the verb phrase? Or so again, that we get to talk about in the next tutorial. But for now, I think I just want you to understand the difference between the auxiliary and the main verb. And then I also want you to understand, so in this case, want, if I'm using this language, is just the word want. Is this marked or is this the base form?
Base form.
Thank you, Feruza. So then the auxiliary here marks what? Singular. Here we get the auxiliaries marking things. What is the auxiliary? And let's even open this up a little bit. What do we learn from the auxiliaries here in terms of marking? Singular or plural?
Singular.
Good. Tense?
Simple present.
Present.
Good. And ing or not ing?
No.
Not.
Not ing.
Good. We get one other, again, this is a great question, Mariana, because this is another principle of verbs that we'll look at next. Continuous. We also get this, which is telling us what? This is giving us very important information, which is what?
Negative.
Thank you.
Negation.
Perfect. Bana says negative. I think I heard negation, negative. Again, choose your vocab word, you guys. In some textbooks, it might say make it negative. In some textbooks, it might say negate. That's the verb, to negate. Negation is a noun. So here you're getting all the word forms of this word. And again, as you hopefully can imagine, to negate just means, as a verb, to make negative. Negative is the adjective. And negation is the noun form. All these different parts of speech, different word forms, but the same meaning here, the same meaning. So again, Mariana this example shows us as well as number 10. Good. Great. Okay. Thank you, Mariana. Again, great question and a good way to connect us to one of the other principles that we're going to look at today. Hold on, I think I marked my page. Okay, good. Any other questions about this? Because it was a great question. Any other questions about this first principle about marking verbs and the base form and all that stuff? Love it. Let's do just, I think we're going to have plenty of time. So let's do a quick activity. Someone give me a sentence. You can come up, your own example. Give me a sentence where we have the verb marked plural, past, not continuous.
Students went to grocery store.
I'm going to add an article for you.
Yep.
Great. Perfect. Absolutely. Absolutely. How about let's do the same sentence, but give it to me singular past, not continuous.
She went
Mm-hmm.
She went, yeah.
to the grocery store.
Good. And now how about plural future, not continuous?
Students will go to the grocery store.
Great. Okay, good, good. And future, oh, I'm sorry. Plural future continuous.
Students are going to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
And now make sure that I know it's the future. Add one word.
Tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Perfect, right? Again, I know you all know this, right? But again, one thing that does make it tricky in English is sometimes ing fights with tense because we use present continuous to talk about the future so often, at least in California, right? So that's why adding that time word, thank you, Linda, can really make it clear what tense you want it to mean, right? Let's do one more practice activity. How about, I'm gonna hold on, let me copy and paste this. I kind of like doing example sentences in PowerPoint. It's much easier than trying to do it on the whiteboard, you guys. How about, and give me, how about give me an example, singular, oh, and let's do this. With negation. So singular, future, not continuous, with negation.
I will not go to the work tomorrow.
I will not go to work tomorrow. I will not go to work tomorrow. You guys agree? Yes. I agree. I agree. Yep. I will not go. And how about what do we got? Singular, plural?
Plural.
Good. And what tense?
Future, not continuous.
Future.
Good. Singular, plural?
Plural.
Good. And
past.
Good.
Negation.
Good. Makes sense. This makes sense.
Yes.
Good. You guys do this all the time. You guys do this in your homework. You do this when you're talking. I think, again, I think it's helpful to see how this all comes together instead of just saying, here's the rule, learn the rule. There's a reason we do these things, right? There's a reason that these things come together. So, okay. So then, after we think about verbs being marked for person, number, tense, and status, continuous or not continuous, we also, as you already know in these examples that we just came up with together, now the second principle of understanding how verbs work in English is verb phrases, again, going back to Mariana's excellent question, may include other parts of speech. Now, verb phrases often contain auxiliaries, as we have seen, right? Now, these auxiliaries, even though they don't have meaning by themselves, remember, an auxiliary is a function word. It is just grammar. Excuse me. But what function do auxiliaries serve? As if you looked or if you read Language Power Tutorial 2, Professor Ferris gives you a long list of things that auxiliaries do. So, for example, auxiliaries can indicate negation, right? Did not go. They can indicate completion. We'll see an example of this in a second. They can indicate probability, may, might, right? They can indicate sort of level of advice, should, shouldn't, right? So even though auxiliaries are function words, they don't have meaning by themselves. They do affect, again, how the verb functions, right? They need the verb, but they give us information about how the verb works in a specific sentence. Now, auxiliaries are also very important for subject-verb agreement, and just like the implied subject in our commands, right? Give me the money. Auxiliaries often, more often than we want to admit as teachers, can stand in for the main verb. So let's look at some examples. So she did not tell me that she was going to call you. Actually, let me copy this slide so I can sort of take notes on it for us. Okay, so first, I'm gonna make this smaller so that everyone can see. So first, let's just do, like it's helpful to do for everything, let's just do subjects and verbs in the first sentence. Where's this, how many subjects, how many verbs?
Subject. Two subjects.
Good.
And two verbs.
Good. And where's our verbs?
Tell.
Good.
And going. And two auxiliaries too.
Good. Yes. Let's talk about this. And I think, well, yeah. How many auxiliaries do we see?
Two.
Here.
Was and did.
And did not.
Did.
Yeah. Again, we'll talk about this, but yeah, is not an auxiliary. Is it a different part of speech? Again, different teachers, different opinions. It doesn't really matter too much right now what you call it, but as long as you know that it is in this case affecting what? Negation, right? Not is an example for negation, right? I'm going to make this a different color. Good. So now my question here is, when you look at this, auxiliaries indicate negation, completion, probability, blah, blah, blah. They're important for subject-verb agreement. They may stand in for the verb. What are we getting? What are we getting? How can I ask this? What's the function? What are these auxiliaries doing in this sentence? What are they marking about the grammar here? So let's start with the easy one. She was going. She was going to call you. What's was telling us here?
The tense?
Good. I think, Mariana, say it again.
The tense, I think.
Yes, good. Yes. So in this case, was is definitely marking tense. Was is marking past tense here. What's this?
Also past tense.
Yeah. And again, if you are a person who thinks that did not should go together, then we could do past negation. You could put all these things together, right? So again, Professor Ferris, another reason I like our textbook is she doesn't get too crazy with like every single not, or, you know what I mean? Every single auxiliary. But so again, even if you're like, Jeff, what can I say? Instead of thinking like, I need to be able to identify every part of speech, that's good, we'll get there. What I really want you to focus on today is to understand what every word is doing in the sentence, right? That's what Feruza explained there in Mariana too. Did is marking the tense, it says past. Not is telling us that there's negation. The actual meaning is this verb here. And we get the same thing here. Was is marking for tense. And then you could also say, well, was, and then maybe the ing, those together tell us about continuous, right? Or the status. So again, those things work together in a sentence. Good. Any questions about this first sentence before we look at the other ones?
I just like want to ask about the first one. That one, it's like we have did, it's in the past, right?
Yes.
And was, it's in the past, but there's another like a going, like a continuous. So can we have it like a past and continuous together at the same sentences?
Absolutely, yeah. So well here, this is an auxiliary, right? This auxiliary marks past. This will be even better. So yes. This is an auxiliary, this marks past. And if we want to call this an auxiliary, let's not worry about it too much. This is marking negation, right? This is saying negative, negative.
Uh-huh.
And then here's the main verb. The verb is going. So yeah, I guess I started talking like I had more to say, but the answer to your question, Linda, is yeah, you could past continuous 100%, right? So how about something like this, right? Same thing, past.
Continuous.
Yeah, and again, you start to see why, I think, again, I just love how Professor Ferris talks about this. So the base form of the verb can be marked, right? And in this example sentence here, the verb, the actual base form of the verb is marked with the ing, right? And the auxiliary marks the tense. You see how, again, like yeah, does that make sense? That the ing tells me about the status, and that's on the verb. but the auxiliary is actually giving us information about the tense. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
says yes.
Excuse me, Professor.
Tell me.
Oh, okay, okay.
Was in this sentence, was is an auxiliary. So why it is not a verb?
It's not a verb because it's an auxiliary.
So how do we know, Professor? So
That's what I'm
is a
teaching you.
verb.
How do you know? Practice. Just practice, practice, practice. Do you see again, even I love that question though so much because again, I hope you start to see why I like to teach this way. It's not just like, I think it's really important to understand not just because so often a grammar class is like, use the past progressive and use the verb go. Okay, I was going, blah, blah, blah. But you know, even in that sentence, I was going, there's a lot of grammar going on there, right? And you're exactly right, Murtasa. The was has no meaning. It doesn't, the meaning comes from going. Going is the action. Going is what's happening in the sentence. We're only using was to help. That's why we call it a helping verb. And I'm trying to explain or make it clear that the most important thing that was is doing in this sentence is telling you past tense, past tense, past tense. It doesn't have anything to do with be or am or anything. It's just saying past tense.
So if we saw a sentence like this, so the was must be auxiliary, it's not a verb.
Well, be careful with was, because you know English loves to teach you a rule and then have an example that doesn't match the rule. Can you? But how about Murtasa? The best thing would to be is, can you give me an example sentence that we can?
Oh, sorry, I didn't write. I didn't put my right name. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. It's okay.
Okay.
Can you give me an example sentence using was that we could look at? Because I think it's a great question.
Let me think about it, Professor.
Okay. Can someone else give me one? Because that's a great question.
I have a question.
Oh yeah, Mariana, I saw you. Yes, please. And then Feruza. Mariana, go ahead.
The question is, as I remember from my high school English lessons.
Go on.
I remember that if we use like this part 2 years ago, we use only past simple.
Give me a sentence.
It's true or no? Because here we have we were living 2 years ago there, yep. But as I remember, if we use 2 years ago, we can only say we lived, there 2 years ago, or we can use this one and this one.
Save it. The simple past, but it's past continuous.
Good. Okay, here's my first question. Is the grammar, I'm going to get rid of these little notes. My first question is, ay, Diosito Santo, hold on. Okay, my first
like
question.
For 2 years ago.
These two sentences, is the grammar good in both of these sentences?
Yes.
Feruza says yes, very confidently, and she is correct. The grammar is fine. Do they mean the exact same thing?
No.
No. Why not?
Excuse me, can I explain?
Get in there, Banas, tell me.
Okay, in first sentence, like we are living there and we continuing to live there. And in the second one, just we lived and done. That's it.
Actually,
right or not?
Happened and ended, she means, I think.
Well, see, here's the other thing. See, again, this is good because what I love these questions because it means I think we're going to do we have one more unit about sentences, and then we get to do a really kind of deep look at verb tenses, because these are tense questions, right? And this is perfect. This is a perfect time for tense to come up because we're talking about verbs and verb phrases, right? So I think the way that Banas was talking about.
Started and still continues.
Yes. Now, we have lived here for 2 years. This is the present perfect, right? I know you guys are ready for verb tenses. We've lived here for 2 years, started in the past, still happening now, right? Now, we were living there 2 years ago. When you say this, you are emphasizing, you are trying to put attention to, you are focusing on the continuous nature of the past. When you read this, the reader feels like, oh, they can imagine you there every day, kind of living ing in the past. If you say we lived there 2 years ago, you emphasize the finished nature of the event, right? So the grammar is good in both, in these two. I just want to focus on these two. The grammar is great in both of these sentences. The meaning is very similar, but you do, as for a native speaker, I do have a slightly different feeling from these two sentences. In the first one, you're emphasizing, you're focusing on that it took an amount of time, and you can, oh, I can imagine living there. I remember when I was living there for 2 years, those 2 years, blah, 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 blah. If you say we lived there 2 years ago, you almost give the feeling of it's done. It's in the past, moving on, right? Now, that's not a perfect description, right? Like it doesn't feel super clear. Even when I explain that, when I've tried to explain this in other classes, of course, too, it's hard to explain the difference because it's kind of like a little feeling. And I think it just takes practice. It just takes practice. And for Mariana's question, or like Mariana's example, I suspect, I believe, the teacher said use the simple past because it's easier. It's easier. It's easier to teach. It's easier to use. You don't have any auxiliaries. Do you know what I mean? Like you just have to worry about the irregular past tense verbs. So both are great, but we do use them in slightly different ways. And that's why when, I think of that first week when everybody was like, verb tenses, Jeff, we need verb tenses. Yes, it's true. You do. And that's why to practice them and see the difference between the two of them is valuable. Mariana, it looks like you have something else or you want to say some more.
Yeah, I want to say that when I use we were living there for 2 years, I feel like I need more information about this because we lived there 2 years ago. It's like everything, it's okay. But when we say we were living, I feel like I need more information.
Like this?
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
Professor, can I explain the past continuous?
Yeah, sure.
I believe from the last semester, we found the simple past and past continuous are different. We use often the past continuous when we have an action, two action happening and ended, but different is like she interrupted me when I was talking. The two action happened and ended, but it's showing the second action like exactly when happened.
Yes, and when we start to talk about, the past perfect, and when we talk, there are some tenses in English that really, you'll only use them to talk about two things that happened in the past and which came first, or two things that will happen in the future and which one will happen first. Absolutely, Feruza. So this two events thing is very important when we get to these more advanced tenses. So I don't want to disagree with anything Feruza just said. I just want to add, think about this. If you took a 50 level class, 50 level, 30, 40, 50 level students, we love ing. Yeah. And human beings love the continuous tenses. It's not just English. Like I said, in Spanish, ing is very easy to identify, see, and use. The equivalent in Spanish, it's ando. It's easy. I use ando all the time. What we notice when we look at how people learn second languages is the continuous tense, the continuous, again, Professor Ferris says status. Is it continuous or not continuous? Is it ongoing or not ongoing? We love this. Everybody loves ing. So everything Feruza said is right. We use the ing in the past and the simple past to compare time and what happened first. And people use past continuous a lot because it's an ing. Just look at how we use I am going tomorrow. We use present continuous to talk about the future. That's how much we love ing. So learn those rules, Feruza, and just remember, when we talk about some of these verb tenses, I promise, you're going to start to see the continuous tense used in lots of different ways because people love ing. People love ing. So you're right, though, and you're also 100% correct. Good. Any other questions about this? Well, we'll get more practice with this a lot. Don't worry about that. But especially how the auxiliaries show up in some of the continuous tenses. Any questions?
No.
Okay, let's look at more examples then. So that was the first one. Let me move this up so we can see. So have you ever been to San Francisco? What's the verb?
Been.
Good. And what else do we have?
Auxiliary.
Where?
Have.
Auxiliary have.
Good. Now, here's another tricky question. What is this? How is this being marked? Well, let's do this. How is this? The main verb is definitely marked, right? It's not the base form. The base form is just be, right? So what are we looking at here? It's not the base form. It's not ing. What is this? Thank you.
Future.
Ooh, not future. Been is past participle. Now, when do we use the past participle?
Present perfect.
Thank you. Not only, but definitely. Yeah. Been is past participle. Past participle is often used for present perfect. Let's even just say the present tenses, right? We use these participles a lot. Good. And so then what is have? Have is giving us some important information then, because we use the past participle. I will have been, or I had been, or I have been. Been stays the same, right? Past participle stays the same. So what is have giving us in this example?
It says, I think, Professor, it says in your whole life between from the past or now, when what time or any time you went to San Francisco.
I love it. I love it. And Lailuma is such a good student. Lailuma is going to be our verb expert because she knows all the rules, right? She's like, I know, use it when have in your life starting. That's what we teach you. That's great. That's what we teach you, right? But again, let me just do this. What if I said,
verb tense.
Thank you, Feruza. What's the difference here? Had you ever been versus have you ever been? What's the difference?
Present and past.
Perfection. Now, if you're looking at me like, or the screen like, Jeff, had you ever been, what is going on? That's the past present, or past perfect, forgive me, that is past perfect. We will get to practice it. If you don't know it yet, don't worry. But all you need to see is, right, in the past perfect, had. In the present perfect, that's, and maybe if you've taken grammar classes before, maybe you've never seen or understood. That's the difference between have and had. The auxiliary is being marked for tense here to tell us past, present, or the scariest of all, right? The present future, or the future perfect, yeah. Does this make sense? If it does not, open your mouth and tell me, because this is important to understand. Does this make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go to the next
excuse
slide.
me, Professor.
Get in there, Linda, or Lailuma, yes,
sorry.
please.
Is any clue so we know this word is an auxiliary? So I'm having trouble with that. So there was auxiliary, and here is how auxiliary. So how do we know it's auxiliary?
Such a good question. Anybody? I have my perfect answer, but my students, my talkie ones, how do we know?
It's like linking verb.
Say it again, Banas.
Linking verb. Not verb, like helps.
Good guess, but not quite. Not how I would answer it. Veduza, Mariana, you want to get in there?
Helping verb.
I didn't get the question.
How do we know what is the, how do we know if have or be, I mean, there's, because have and be are the auxiliary verbs in English, right? I am going, I have gone, right? Have and be are our auxiliaries. How do we know when have and be are an auxiliary, and how do we know when they're the main verb?
Beside the subject.
When they are the only verb.
Yeah, if we don't have any other verbs.
In the sentence.
Good, okay, Rongtar, go ahead. Rongatar?
Yeah, beside the subject, we have a two verb. If we have a two verb with each other, for example, have or be, and we have another verb that's have and be here become auxiliary verbs as a helping verb.
Yes.
And another second, another verb is the main verb.
Good, I love it. Yeah, exactly right. So good. I love it. I'm going to agree with everything that they just said. And I'm just going to add, Lailuma, that's why, even though it might feel weird, you're in 310. Jeff, why are we starting with subjects and verb? Oh my God, it's so easy. Okay, sometimes, but remember, you have to find the verb. That's my short answer, Lailuma, is how do I know if be or have is an auxiliary or the main verb? Well, if you find the subject and the actual verb, and you see a have or a be, but you see a main verb like give or go or talk or whatever, love, I don't know, then it has to be an auxiliary, right? Have gone, well, gone is the past participle. Okay, I have gone. Gone is the action, right? Who's the subject? I. Okay, and what's this sentence about? What's the action? Oh, I go. I went somewhere. So go is the meaning. Go is the word with meaning. It gives meaning to the sentence. It's the content word in that sentence. So the other verb has to be a helper, right? Because here is an always rule in any clause. Only one verb. You will never have two verbs in a clause. That I can promise you about English. I can promise.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you.
One verb in a clause, not in a sentence, but it was a one verb per clause. Does that help, Lailuma?
Thank you, Professor. There's too much noise in my background. So
You're
I have
good.
to be mute.
You're good. You're good. Okay, good. So I think it seems like some of you have definitely got this. So have marks tense here, right? The past participle is, I mean, it's kind of marked for tense, but we can't use the past participle by itself to know if it's past, present, or future, because been, right? The past participle stays the same in all three of these examples with the perfect tenses. So, okay. I think I'm happy. You guys are starting to see, right? You get a lot of information on these auxiliaries. They're not just grammar. They are giving us, well, what would I say? They have a big impact on how the sentence functions together. That's why we need them for the grammar. That's why we need them. So now, how about this one? Did this one. We said, here's our verb.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the verb in this sentence? Imagine that these are a question and an answer. Where's the verb in this sentence?
Have.
Have.
I'll point your, look at this rule. This
can be to be the verb, because I have, it's like the same in the previous.
Mm-hmm.
It's auxiliary. Be.
Been.
But when we answer, we don't say the been usually. We just say they have. Or the same like do. Do you go somewhere, or do you eat? Yes, I do.
Yep.
We don't say yes, I do eat, or we don't say yes, I do go.
Yes, and that is this principle that Dr. Ferris is pointing. Auxiliaries stand in for an implied verb, just like give me the money. Well, who's the subject? You give me the money, right? You are the subject. And so, did you do your homework? Yes, I did. Well, did is an auxiliary, but did is standing in for the main verb, which is back up in the question, right? Back up in the earlier sentence. So here, yes, I have. This is still, what I want to tell you is, this is still an auxiliary. And again, it's why it's really important. Again, what's the first chapter that is in this textbook? The way that I teach this class is context, 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 right? It's not just how is be verb used? It's, well, what's the sentence? Let's look at it. So in this exchange, these two people talking, have you ever been to San Francisco? Yes, I have. The real verb is implied. It goes back up to be from the question above, right? So that's an important principle for you guys to understand. Now, in writing, you're not really going to do this too often, right? If you're writing an essay, you're probably going to include the main verb. But like Feruza said, when you're talking, we do this all the time. Did you do the homework? Yeah, I did. Are you going to go to the store? Yeah, I'm gonna. I mean, we do this all the time, all the time.
But it's correct to answer like not yes I do, but yes I go, or it's not correct.
No, yes I go. No, but could you say yes? No, yeah, that's not right. If you're answering a question, this will get to practice again.
Not in this case.
Yeah.
I mean, in general. Yeah, the question is, do you have a phone? We answer, yes, I do. But can I say, yes, I have, or it's not correct?
Usually we say, yes, I have too.
If you say, yes, I have, then you have to tell me what you have. This goes, again, this goes back to transitive, intransitive. Some verbs need an object, right? You can't just say, you have to say what you have in English. So transitive and intransitive, we're gonna go there soon. It means sometimes they have to take an object. So if you say, yes, if you could say, yes, I have, if you're answering, have you ever been there? Yes, I have been. But if you're saying, do you have a phone? Yes, I have. You have what? I have a phone. So you have to give me the object in that case, Mariana. You have to give me the object because it's a transitive verb. It needs the object after it. Feruza.
But in speaking, like native people, they don't too much mention it. Yes, I have, or yes, I do. They just accept. Because I heard from some people, they say, or yes, I do, or yes, I have. And we can just understand because we gave the question, do you have a car? Yes, I have.
I would never, I don't know. I don't hear that. I'd say.
Or maybe I heard only from immigrant people. I don't know, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Do you have a car? Yes. Do you have a car? Yes, I do. Do you have a car? Yes, I have one. Do you have a car? Yes, I have.
Oh yeah, we heard a lot of, yes, I have one, yeah.
No, again, if you're going fast, and we're going to study this too, but if you're going fast and you're just curious, Jeff, what are you talking about? Google transitive versus intransitive verbs. Okay. And even students who go to high school in the US and don't study, I mean, you guys are going to know grammar better than a lot of Americans at the end of this class, because this isn't even how we teach grammar in the United States. And I mention that because at high school, they don't teach transitive and intransitive verbs. But the reason, the rule underneath why Americans won't say, do you have a car? Yes, I have, is we understand just by feeling have needs an object. So do you have a car? I have one. I have one. Yeah, that's all I want to say. So like I said, if you're super curious, when we finish, Google transitive and intransitive. It'll get you ready for when we practice that in the lessons, okay?
Okay.
Just two more to look at for the second principle. So I might buy a new laptop next year, but I'm not sure. Where's our verbs?
Buy.
Buy.
I agree.
And
It's auxiliary.
Love it, good. And where's our auxiliaries?
Might.
Good. And
so second M is the auxiliary or the main verb?
Main.
Oh, sure, it's adjective. Yeah, it's a main verb.
Yeah, exactly. So, and in this case, am, be is the verb, and this is linking. And I chose this example sentence to show you, right? So in this case, we have a linking verb, and then like you just said, Feruza, we get an adjective that describes our state of being, right? I'm not sure. But here, the buy is the verb, and it's an action verb. Be, am, is the linking verb. again, for now, we can call not an auxiliary. If people want to fight about it later, we can, but it's still important for this rule, right? Because it's giving us negation. And and think about these: negation, completion, probability. Thank you very much. Good. Right? So I might buy a new laptop next year, but I'm not sure. Questions about that one? Okay, last one. She has given me a lot of important information. What's our verb?
Given.
Given.
Thank you. And where's our auxiliary?
Has.
Good. And thinking again about this, think about these rules: number, singular, plural, tense, and status. What do we learn from this? Thank you.
Singular.
Good.
Past.
Non-continuous.
And I heard someone say past. Remember, has.
Past, has.
Present.
Present.
Now, we could change it.
Had.
Had given.
Past. Already.
But again, if you're like past perfect, what is going on? Don't worry, we'll get there in a couple weeks, okay? All I want you to see is sometimes tense is marked on the main verb. Sometimes tense is marked on the auxiliary. That's really important. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. That is very, very important. That's very important. That's it for principle 2. Any other questions before we do the third and final principle for verbs?
Nope.
Let's keep going. Okay, more beautiful examples, your amazing sentences. Okay.
My God.
I know. I'm going to tell you right now, this is the rule that it's horrible. If I could just tell you, it's horrible. So let's just look at it. Not everything that looks like a verb functions like a verb. And in fact, sadly, in English, a lot of things that look like verbs are not verbs in a sentence. So auxiliaries, for example, that's like Laluma's question. Jeff, it's be, it's have, it's got to be a verb. No, it's an auxiliary. We also have infinitive forms, and I'll show you all of these. We have present participles. We have past participles, and I will show you what these are right now. So let's just look at, and actually I'm going to duplicate this slide. Let's just do one sentence at a time here. Now, these are sentences that you'll get to analyze in Language Power Tutorial 2. So you're good getting ready for the lessons. Let's start with just the subjects and the verbs for this sentence. Subject and the verb.
Americans.
Hate is the verb.
Good. Let's say, what color should we make this
Hate.
subject?
It's a verb.
Good. Hate is the verb.
Hate.
Great.
Yeah.
And now what?
Some
American lawmaker.
Good.
Another subject.
Good.
Want. Is the
Verb.
verb.
Mm-hmm.
We is the subject.
Here?
Another subject. And have.
And have is the verb.
Another subject. A verb. Cool.
Takes.
Great. Now, here's my question. What's this?
Infinitive.
Infinitive.
What's this?
Infinitive.
Infinitive.
This.
Infinitive.
Is it a verb?
No. It's
Actually, it's not a verb.
An action.
I hear people. Who's talking?
it's an object of the verb, or it can be show a purpose of the verb.
Yes, 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 yes. To pay. Now, again, this is going to get us ready for this. Really, to pay other countries to take our trash is really, in this sentence, functioning like an object noun phrase. It is the thing that some American lawmakers want. And we could do the same thing here. So we don't have this, so we don't have something, right? I'm going to make this a different color. I'm running out of beautiful colors here, you guys. What should we do? Red, that's good. That's not too scary. Now, if you're looking at this and getting scared, don't worry. This is everything in tutorial 3 is all about this. Okay, so if this doesn't make sense right now, we get a lot more practice with it. But I do want you to start to see that Americans, subject, hate, and then trash is our object. It's the thing that Americans hate, right? Then we get a lot of transition words. And again, we get our favorite word in English. But we do have our subject, some American lawmakers, verb want, and to pay, even though it looks like a verb, this whole phrase together functions like an object. It is the thing. It could be replaced by a pronoun, right? Some American lawmakers want it. Some American lawmakers want that, right? That one pronoun could replace this whole noun phrase, right? And I wish I had good news about this, but infinitives and the participles, and remember, the present participle, I'm sure you guys already know this, is just ing, and the past participle is ed, or the irregular past participles, right? But they look like verbs. Sometimes they are verbs. A lot of times they do not function like verbs in the sentences. Questions about this sentence, because we've got 4 other sentences to look at. Feruza.
I have a question, not about the sentence. Do we have any lesson that only about infinitive and gerunds?
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah, there's a whole chapter, there's a whole tutorial about infinitives and gerunds. But again, even before we start to practice infinitive and gerunds, which we will, I'm thinking about Lailuma's good question, which is, in English, we teach you, oh yeah, it's so easy to find the verb. Well, I mean, yeah, sometimes it can be, but it gets complicated really fast when you see infinitives and INGs and just, well, we're going to look at another sentence here. Not every ing is a gerund, right? Sometimes it just, it looks like the present participle, but it isn't functioning like a noun. So it gets tricky. It gets fun.
Professor,
Tell me.
How about this sentence? Is it still paying as a infinitive? Like if I say I paid the home rent yesterday, so pay is in this case positive or not?
I can't hear you. Your audio is kind of. Can you type in the chat, or it's just you sound a little robot voice, Amina? If you type your sentence, we'll analyze it. If you type it in the chat, I will analyze it.
I paid home rent. What happened?
I paid something. I can't hear her. Can anybody hear her?
No.
Yeah,
no. Professor, for a question after one, the verb wants to pay.
Yes.
What is different meaning between want to pay and want paying?
Good. Now that is Feruza's question. That is what we will study in ing versus infinitive, right? And the real answer is, you've probably studied this rule before, but again, this is a little preview. Oops, give me 1 second. So again, you might have seen this in another grammar class, right? But one of the rules that we teach students is if you're talking about purpose, reason, cause, you're almost always going to use the infinitive, right? So for example, how can I give you a good example here? Well, actually, this is not a good example of this rule, because the other rule that you've seen before is probably some verbs. I wish this is not a great English rule, right? But what you see in grammar textbooks is some verbs, you just use the infinitive after certain verbs. Want is one of them. Like I wish I could give you a good reason for why, but just how English has developed, that's the case. Like, whatever. I mean, after this verb want, it's almost always going to be the infinitive, right? And then some verbs, yeah. I don't want to can we save it until we do the tutorial about gerunds and ing? But in this sentence, the short answer is you need the infinitive because the main verb is want. That's the reason in this sentence. That's the reason in this sentence.
We have verbs that after we can use the infinitive and we can use the gerund, not gerund.
Yes. Do you remember? Have you studied this?
Yeah, we have a special verbs. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, like, and that's just, and that I wanted to go. I thought that maybe I could give you an example of. There are other rules, right? Like I said, if you're explaining the reason you did a thing, if you're talking about reason or cause, then there are specific rules there too. But for many of these, it's what's the main verb, and after certain verbs you get ing. After certain verbs you get infinitive. Want is one of the verbs that if want is the main verb, you will use the infinitive. You will use the infinitive. I want to go, never I want going. And that's different than like, right? If you could use I like going or I like to go, that's a verb where you could use either one. So we'll get there. We'll get there. How about, let's do the same thing for the next sentence. So we did this one on the previous slide. Let's look at the second sentence here. Nonetheless, I found myself dangling my legs over the side of a dumpster as I slowly tried to lower my feet inside. We've got a lot going on. Let's start with the subjects. What's the subject? Thank you.
I.
Do we have another subject here?
Nice.
Thank you. Great. And what's this?
As. Can be conjunction?
Yeah, thank you, Feruza. Here's our conjunction, right? I'm telling you, two subjects means two clauses, means you got to have some kind of conjunction, right? Great, so where's our verb?
Found.
And the other one?
Tried.
And where's our other things that look like verbs but aren't verbs?
Infinitive, to lower.
Good. There's another one too.
Dangling.
Thank you.
Gerund.
Great. And again now. Right. So here, dangling looks like ing. And again, the rule for all I mean by present participle is, the verb in the ing form. That's all the present participle is. Hold on 1 second. I know I'm trying to mute. Hold on. Sorry, you guys. I'm just muting everybody. Sorry, you guys. I got distracted. Hold on. I'm going to mute you all. Okay. Sorry. I think it's Amina. I don't know what's going on with your audio, Amina. Okay. Here, dangling is an example of the present participle. It's in the ing. Feruza keeps saying gerund. It might be if it's a noun, but we know it's present participle. And then the infinitive to lower, right? And how about in the next one? Where's our sentence, our subject? I tried to slide my hand about 6 inches to the left to get a better grip, but stopped when my fingers touched some kind of cold pink frosting. This shouldn't be here. Where's the subject?
I.
Here. And where's our verb?
Tried.
Good. And what do we got here?
Infinitive.
Thank you. Do we have any other verbs or verb-like things?
To get infinitive. And stop it, verb.
What's this? This is the...
No, it's past participle.
Yes. Stopped again. So if you're not sure, if you're looking at this like Jeff, so in 310, I'm not going to spend too much time on what the present participle is and what the past participle is. You guys probably know this. If you don't, Google it, right? It won't take you long to review. But again, when I say present participle, what I mean is base form plus ing. And when I say past participle, I mean base form plus ed, unless it's an irregular past participle, which there are a lot in English, right? But what I want you to see as we look at these is to start to understand, okay, oh, sorry. It looks like a verb, but it's not a verb. Okay, so what does that mean? Is it an auxiliary? Is it in an infinitive form? Is it the present participle? Is it the past participle? That's what we're practicing here, right? So I tried, main verb, to slide, infinitive, or to get, infinitive, stopped, past participle, right? And what's this?
Told you, past participle.
Or, well, let's see, what else? I mean, or did we miss? Yeah. Well, do we have a subject? That's the question.
My fingers. Yeah.
Is it a verb?
Yep.
Verb, yeah.
So then remember, as we get ready for clauses in tutorial 3, what's this?
Conjunction.
Yep. And really we could call it, yeah, you could call it conjunction subordinator, right?
Coordinator, yeah.
This is a subordinating conjunction. This is, again, pick your poison, but the most important thing is when my fingers touch some kind of cold pink frosting is a dependent clause, right? It's a subject, it's got a subject, it's got a verb, it's got this conjunction, it's definitely a subordinator, but starting to see how these things come together, right? Starting to see how these things come together. Last one, subject. I first became aware that there were people who chose to rummage through dumpsters for food.
1 second.
Sure.
Why stopped isn't a verb?
Where? Which one?
Stop it. Past participle, she's asking.
If it's a verb, what's the subject? I think Mariana froze, or I froze. If stop is a verb, what is the subject for that verb?
I don't see the subject.
Yeah, I think, so that's a good question for Mariana. If you're still there, or if you guys can still hear me, you could argue, that this is...
It's implied.
Well, I was gonna say, Google compound verb. You do have some grammar teachers who will tell you that you could have one subject and have multiple verbs that are connected by a conjunction. You could also say, like Mariana's saying, that you could say I is an implied subject and that therefore that means this is a verb. All of that would be a totally appropriate way to analyze this sentence. But the good news for me is I'm not going to give you a quiz where I say what part of, is this a verb or an infinitive? I'm not going to do it like that. Even more than anything, I love Mariana's question. If you're asking yourself that question, Mariana, you are thinking the right way. That's even more important because, like I said, I promise we could get 3 different teachers from this department, and maybe one would think that is a verb, one would think it's not a, you know what I mean? Like it kind of just is about opinion at a certain point too. Feruza.
Sir, I have a question. You said so if we don't see the subject, so it is a past participle, but sometimes we have just only one subject and can be the more than one verbs. Like I did, I tried, I did try it, touch it. We can say that the one subject and a lot of verbs too.
Yeah, so you'd say this, like...
why cannot be the stop it verb? Yep.
So that'd be a clear example like this, right? Where you have went, so the subject would be I, and this is what I'm saying. If you want to go really deep here, you can Google compound verbs. That's what you and Mariana are talking about. One subject, 2 verbs. That definitely does happen. What I'm saying is, depending on the context of the specific sentence, you can kind of analyze it in different ways. And that's why I was trying to say, I'm not, like Banas said too, I'm not the type of teacher that like on a quiz will be like, what part of speech is this word? Like, tell me, and there's only one right answer. not really. There are different ways to interpret this, right? And you will hear some people, like, you could hear someone at UC Davis, where I was studying linguistics, who would tell you, okay, if you have but, maybe certain conjunctions don't allow for compound verbs, right? So, okay, if you have and, that's definitely a coordinated conjunction. So that definitely means that we must have a compound verb, and it's referring back to the same subject. Okay, maybe. And other people might. So I'm not giving you a perfect answer, Feruza, because there's not one clear perfect answer. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
It is.
We have the difference between the past participle and the compound verb.
All I can tell you is this. It's never wrong to do this.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? It is never wrong to, especially if you have a conjunction, put a comma and make it a compound sentence and put another subject back in there. That will never be wrong. Now, at us, 310, 320, you'll probably be okay if you try to do a subject and compound verb. You probably will be okay, but sometimes it is incorrect. And yeah, that's a lot. You know what I mean? Like the sometimes is the really tricky part. So yeah. Does my answer make sense? Even if it's scary, even if it's scary, Feruza.
Yeah.
That's weird. Why, if we have I, stop, it's a verb. But if we don't have I, it's a past participle. It's very weird.
Those are fanboys, actually. Yeah.
I agree. No, and like I said, all I can say is I agree. And this is one that there's just not one rule for this, you guys. And to a certain extent, it's why I like teaching grammar this way, because when you think about analyzing a sentence, when you think about analyzing parts of speech in a sentence, you have to understand that there really is no one rule. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wish I could tell you that every time you have a subject, a verb, a conjunction, and then another verb, that will always be a compound verb sentence, but that's not always true. Like sometimes the grammar gets much more complicated. I'm gonna move on so that people don't get mad and then we can finish. Like I said, we have to review some grammar rules. That's what we're doing right now. So I'll ask you this way. You like it better this way? You like it better that way?
Yes. Yep. It's less confusing.
That's fine with me. Like I said, I don't care about I'm much more interested in what is your analysis of it and why. And if you say, Jeff, I think it's a verb because it goes back to the same subject and the subject is implied, great, take your point. It's not going to be on a test. That's not how I grade. But you know what I mean? Now, if another student said, Jeff, it's not a real verb because there's no subject that comes before it and it's not really clear if it's a compound verb, I would also say, perfect, great. Like, I'm much more interested in how you think about identifying a part of speech than do you identify every word in every sentence perfectly? Because it's impossible in English. The grammar is so messy, you know? Okay. I have scared everybody away with that one, you guys. That was just for Feruza and Mariana. That's like advanced 310 questions there. Last one. I.
Subject.
Yep.
Subject.
Became. Were auxiliary. Yeah, there were people.
Good question.
Choose. To remage, it's like it's infinitive.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
there,
I agree.
There it's a.
And yeah. Told it's a verb. The last part, the subject, yeah. Spirited design major.
I'm just gonna scare you. You guys, you're not gonna have to do this. Like, you're not gonna have to do what we're doing on a quiz or anything. It's just to show you.
Past participle.
Oh, chose, that's right. This is thank you.
To remage infinitive.
Thank you.
called verb, subject, yeah.
Yep, subject NP. But again, this whole thing is the object, right? Oh, I'm sorry. To remember to dumpsters for food. Sorry, I put the I marked this object NP too soon, because when is the subordinator there? Yes. So this whole thing is the object NP, right? There were something, we could replace that whole noun phrase with one word, and then when is the subordinator, my good friend is the subject, and told is the verb.
But
Now,
I hope we don't do like this.
You don't. Now, we're running out of time, so I want to make sure that people who decide to come back next week, don't quit, don't give up, you can do it. I just want you to see how complex this is. So like, now I'm thinking about Lailuma's question, which is, Jeff, like, how do I know what the verb is? That is not a crazy question, because when you look at sentences like we just looked at, dude, it is crazy. There is a lot going on in English sentences, you know? So again, Lailuma, how do I know if it's an auxiliary or a main verb? That is a great question. And the short answer is just practice, right? Looking at these different types of sentences. So again, not the type of teacher I am is to like say identify the infinitive forms and then to pass. That's not the point. What I want you to start to see though, again, is the rules that keep sentences together. That's what I really want you to see, and to start to think about sentences in new and different ways. So that's the purpose. This last slide is just to make sure that you guys have a clear explanation. When I say infinitive, INF, preposition, present participle, past participle, you know, infinitive just means to plus the base form. The present participle is the verb plus ing. The past participle is the verb plus ed. And auxiliaries, we really only have to, be, and have. And Faduza's got some questions about the lessons, which is what I want to talk about next. So here's my suggestions, and then I'm going to go to Canvas. Were they hard? Oh, good question. Faduza's
one
saying,
question about the last sentence.
Sure.
The subject is only my good friend, or on my good friend, free spirited design major.
Yeah, this is the noun phrase. We'll talk about we get
major adjective phrase.
Yeah, we get, well, that's the good question. I think yes, and we'll get to talk all about, well, you'll get to read all about that, and you'll get to watch me talk about it all in tutorial 3, which is all about the different types of phrases there are. So yeah, Feduza was just saying, here's all the information about the different types of phrases: verb phrase, adjective phrase, prepositional phrase. So maybe we could start next week by, once you've looked at tutorial 3, we can talk about what's going on here because it is interesting. So so here's what I want to say. Very strongly suggested before next week, we're going to finish tutorial 1, 2, and 3, which is the foundation for thinking about sentences. Then we get to start to think about verb tenses, right? So my strong suggestion is, if you have not, finish all the lessons if you can. Strongly suggest lessons 1 through 12. If you're going fast and you want to, you can start to look at Language Power tutorial 20 and 24. There are no lessons in Canvas for 20 and 24 right now, okay? Do not worry. This is just for people who are going fast. Believe it or not, we do have one student who finished all of the lessons that I posted yesterday. So if you're going fast, look at that stuff. If you're in the middle, that is all good. You are exactly where you need to be. But again, all the things for the lessons are here. I'm going to go to student view. I'm tired from talking about infinitives. Everything is here, right? So 9, 10, 11, and 12 are all posted in the modules for you to go through. Like I said, I made a video for Language Power tutorial 3. I'm going to post that in Canvas tonight. Like I said, I recorded it yesterday. I just need to put it on YouTube tonight. So all of the tutorials, so that's a good question as we finish up here. I do have to go. But Feruza was asking, did anybody do the new lessons? Were they difficult? Does anybody have anything to say about that before we go?
Not difficult. It's about what we were speaking today.
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah, it's all about subjects and verbs.
I didn't do any of the lessons, Professor. I did only lesson 6, so I hope this weekend I can do all of them.
That's why we're not going crazy. I didn't want to make you do lessons for tutorial 3 yet. I want to put those on there once we have gotten a chance to talk about it next week. So like I said, next week we're going to next week we're going to sort of finish up with sentences, the sort of foundation. Then we get to go and look at verb tenses. Cool? Any questions? Thank you guys. That was fun. Feruza and Mariana want to go deep on the grammar. Yes, Konstantin.
I have a personal question about lesson 3. Can I ask you right now? When you graduate this lesson, they sent me your comment. Your comment said that my grammar in this sentences was quite strong. We was impressed. Well done, and something else. I was happy before I checked my score. My score was lower than ground. Can I ask you, is it possible get a good comment and bad score?
If you're, yeah, I was going to say, so remember, if you're not sure why your score is what your score is, so I'm doing this and I should just explain this. Konstantin, I will answer your message because I saw your message. I will answer you one individually, but you can always see comments. Like I'll always explain myself in lots of different places, and especially for the discussions. So if you go to grades like you're used to, and then if you go to discussion 3, lesson 3, grammar goals, if you click up here, show rubric, then you'll see my comments here. So if there was no reply to your classmates, I'll say no reply, and that's why it's 2.5 out of 5. If it was under 150 words, right? If it was under the word limit, I'll say that, and then I'll explain why. And then for every single one of you in discussion activities, I've given you at least 2 or 3 comments about some grammar errors that you made in some specific sentences. So to see those things, you have to click show rubric up here in the corner. And Konstantin, I will, like I said, I owe you an email, okay? I will send you an email one-on-one too. But that's for everybody, right? Everybody can see my comments by clicking show rubric for each assignment. Thank you, Konstantin. It was good. It was really important to be able to show everybody. Anybody else?
I mean, I stay here, right? I need for her number, right?
Yeah, if you guys want to hang out. Yeah, I'm going to stop. So since we're done, I'm going to stop my recording. Let me see. Stop recording.